Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Baldur's Gate 3. You are an adventurer from the city of Baldur's Gate, when your life is rudely interrupted by being abducted by aliens. These aliens are mind flayers, terrifying psychic tentacle monsters that eat brains. But you're not dinner, you have an even worse fate, because they infect you with one of their tadpoles, which will turn you into a mind flayer too. Luckily, this mind flayer ship is attacked by their mortal enemies, the Githyanki, a warrior race that fly on dragons. In the fight, the ship gets damaged, and you are able to escape your pod. Unfortunately, the ship teleported to the Hells, so you're still in a bit of a pickle. You meet your first friend, a Githyanki warrior, Lae'zel, who was infected herself, so you guys figure let's work together. If you're nice, you rescue another survivor on the way, and now you make it to the Helm, where the mind flayers and devils are fighting each other. You fight your way through the chaos, so yeah, take that. You make it to the tentacle steering wheel and teleport back to the material plane, so you wake up with a bad headache and a main quest: get this mind flayer tadpole out of your head. But you don't have to do it alone. Step 1 is recruit some other survivors. The girl from before goes by Shadowheart, and she's rocking some serious bangs. She's trying too hard to prove she's hardcore. There's the flamboyant elf rogue, Astarion, who's doing a bad job hiding the fact that he's very obviously a vampire. There's Gale, the nerdy human wizard who's got beautiful hair, but his best friend apparently is his cat. And you reconnect with the Githyanki Lae'zel, who is a very strong fighter, if you can deal with her constantly belittling you. Pretty soon you come to a settlement, which is under attack by goblins, but they're no match for your next companion, Will, a classic swashbuckling hero who's named himself the Blade of the Frontiers. He was in the Hells hunting a devil named Karlach, but turns out Karlach isn't a devil, she's a tiefling, which is a devil-looking person. And Karlach is a big cuddly teddy bear, as long as you don't make her mad. Now, turns out there are a bunch of tieflings here. They're refugees seeking shelter in this druid grove. The tieflings are just trying to get to Baldur's Gate. Unfortunately, those goblins are blocking the roads. But the druids are now kicking the tieflings out. Their new leader is a very bad person, and for some reason, this is our problem. But we do get a lead on removing our tadpoles. The former druid leader, Halsin, was studying them, but he was captured by the goblins. And so now our quest is clear: defeat the goblins, rescue Halsin, save the tieflings, and cure our tadpoles. But this isn't an urgent quest. Our tadpoles seem to be in stasis, so we can take a few days to do side quests. There's a ton of situations that could use your help, and if you're a persuasive character who gets good dice rolls, you can talk your way into better outcomes. Sometimes though, the dice aren't with you, and it's gonna come down to a fight. Yes, everywhere you explore, there's something going on. Like here, there's a gnome who's tied to a windmill. If you're a good person, you can save him. Just make sure you hit the right lever. Oops, wrong lever. Sometimes you find a cute lost dog who you can adopt and bring back to your camp. Other times, hey, what's down this well? Oh god, oh no, kill it with fire! Spending all this time together, you start to learn your companion's secrets, like Astarion reveals he's a vampire, to the surprise of absolutely no one. Turns out though, he's just a vampire spawn, and has lived a life of horrible abuse at the hands of his vampire master. He's only ever eaten rats and stuff, he's never drinking human blood, and so if you're a really good friend, you can let him have a taste. Mild-mannered Gale has a dark secret too. Turns out he used to date the goddess of magic, Mystra, but one day in his hubris, he dabbled with magic beyond mortal power, and now he's got a magic bomb in his chest. You gotta feed him magic items, or else he'll explode. Karlach has a bomb in her chest too. Her devil boss Zariel had her heart replaced with an infernal engine, which is why she's on fire all the time. You gotta find a blacksmith to cool her down, and every few miles bring her in for a tune-up. One night another devil shows up at camp. Turns out good guy Will sold his soul to a devil for the powers to fight monsters. Karlach's not a monster, she shouldn't count, but devils are sticklers for contractual loopholes. She counts as heartless because she doesn't have a heart. So as punishment for not killing his target, Will is given the form of a devil himself. In fact, all your companions are getting horny. Basically all of them make a move on you, and I mean, who can blame them? You're a great catch. If you play your cards right, you can get it on, which may lead though to some awkward mornings. Finally, it's time to go after those goblins, but these goblins have joined a cult worshipping a new god, the Absolute, and they can psychically sense your mind flayer tadpole, which makes you one of their leaders a true soul. And now you hear the voice of the Absolute, and oh no, it's gonna mind control you. But Shadowheart has a mysterious prism that apparently is what has been shielding you. But she doesn't know what this artifact is. In fact, she was just sent to steal it. She's a cleric of Shar, the goddess of darkness, and she had her mind wiped before this secret mission. But she stole it from the Githyanki, which Lae'zel does not appreciate. Since the very first minute of the game, these two have been at each other's throats. And tonight at camp, their feud comes to a head. If you don't get a good enough dice roll, you're gonna have to pick one of them. Now in your dreams, you're visited by a mysterious dream guardian who claims to be the one psychically shielding you. Now, having a Mind Flayer worm in your head might make you suspicious of any dream visitors, but you designed them at character creation and probably made them super hot, so you're more likely to trust them completely. They tell you to pick up more tadpoles from other true souls you find along the way. Turns out you can absorb them to unlock your potential and get new powerful psychic abilities. And there's not apparently any consequences, but the menu for doing it is very icky. So as a fake true soul, you're able to infiltrate the goblin camp. Pretty soon, you find a captive bear, which is the shapeshift form of the druid leader Halsin. Unfortunately, he can't remove your tadpole, but he'll help you fight this cult of the absolute. First things first, we gotta deal with these goblins. The goblins are led by the drow elf Minthara, and if you're playing tactical, you can get her alone for an assassination. But it's significantly more cinematic if you let her find the druid grove, and she leads an army of goblins to assault it for an epic siege battle. And of course, if you're playing an evil character, you can join Minthara and betray the grove, but assuming you're a good guy, you defeat the goblins, the day is saved, and that night you have a big party. If you haven't hooked up with anyone yet, well hey, tonight's your shot. But of course, you have to pick one, and things move fast on an adventure. You two start to fall in love. In the morning, Halsin's got good news and bad news. Good news, he knows where the tadpoles are coming from, the Absolute's base at Moonrise Towers. Bad news, it's surrounded by a shadow curse, so it's gonna be hard to get there. To bypass the curse, you go underground and travel through the Underdark, a land of magical subterranean beauty. Just watch out for the deadly mushrooms. There's mushroom people who live here and have been fighting the Absolute themselves, so long story short, you deal with them. And so you arrive at the shadow-cursed lands. But hold that thought real quick, because around this time, Lae'zel interrupts you. Since the very beginning of the game, she's claimed her people can cure our tadpoles. But if you actually track down some Githyanki, the only cure they give you is a swift death. But Lae'zel still believes those Githyanki were traitors. My queen Vlaakith will purify us. So to keep Lae'zel happy, you make a detour to the Githyanki Creche, which is in a beautiful abandoned monastery. So Lae'zel's finally going to be purified in this absolutely terrifying machine. And to everyone but Lae'zel, it's very obvious. There is no cure, this machine kills you. But Lae'zel still has faith in her queen. But long story short, her god queen Vlaakith orders her death anyway, even though she's loyal. And so, after a big ol' fight, Lae'zel realizes her queen is a tyrant, her whole life has been a lie, so Lae'zel has a bit of an existential crisis. On the way out through the secret passage, you can find the old monk's magical weapon. If you're smart, earlier you figured out the puzzle and got the key to take the weapon no problem. But it's significantly more cinematic if you steal the weapon, which activates the self-destruct sequence, and it's an epic escape as you leap from the roof, get out of there just before the monastery is destroyed with the full concentrated power of the sun. So we're back on track in the shadow-cursed lands, which is a very unpleasant place. If you stray too far from the light, the shadows will grab ya and bring you back as a shadow zombie. But in the middle of the curse, there's a bubble of safety at the Last Light Inn, which has been made the base by the Harpers, an international group of good guys, and they're led by the old druid Jaheira, yes, a main character from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. She's here to deal with this absolute problem, and she figures as a true soul who's not brainwashed, you can sneak in and get more intel. They've got protection here from Isabel, a powerful cleric of the moon goddess Selûne. She's able to protect you from the shadow curse too, though Shadowheart doesn't appreciate it. The goddesses Selûne and Shar are sisters and mortal enemies. In fact, this curse seems to come from Shar, so Shadowheart's like, yeah, no, this darkness is great. But this darkness is very not great, and as you explore the desolate town, you encounter all sorts of super creepy horror movie stuff. Now you arrive at Moonrise Towers, and with your tadpole marking you as a true soul, the guards invite you in as a VIP. Now we meet the big man in charge, General Ketheric Thorm. But killing him's gonna be a bit of a problem. It seems at the moment he's immortal. So for now you need to keep your cover. You're sent to help Ketheric's right-hand man, the necromancer Balthazar. And he wants your help to retrieve the Night Song, conveniently the thing keeping Ketheric immortal. The Night Song is held deep in the basement of a temple to the goddess Shar. So Shadowheart is super hyped. She's like, wow, this must be my destiny. But is it though? It's a little suspicious. Her memory's been wiped. It seems like Shar might be manipulating her. But anytime you try to point this out, it just makes Shadowheart mad. So you help Shar to complete the trials and make it down to the inner sanctum, where the Night Song turns out is a person. She's a demigod, in fact, daughter of Selûne, whose life force is bound to Ketheric to keep him immortal. So this seems like the opportune time to drop your cover and kill this guy. But the Night Song's not safe yet. Shadowheart wants to kill her to fulfill her destiny and become Lady Shar's Dark Justiciar. If you've been helping Shadowheart embrace her good nature. Now, at the moment of truth, she realizes this feels wrong and throws Lady Shar's spear away. You free the Night Song from Ketheric's cage, and the music swells as she flies around, banishes the shadows, ready to deliver holy vengeance. Or, if you told Shadowheart to embrace the dark side, this can all go a very different way. So it's time for the assault on Moonrise Towers. Jaheira and her Harpers are here to help, though the real challenge is keeping Jaheira alive. On the roof, you confront Ketheric, but Ketheric has a trick up his sleeve, a giant Mind Flayer tentacle. He grabs Dame Halen and bamfs out of there. You chase him down to the depths of Moonrise, where there's a whole Mind Flayer colony, and you learn the truth of the Absolute. Ketheric Thorm is not the big boss, he's just one of three. They're each the chosen of one of the gods of death, the Dead Three, Bane, Ball, and Merkel. Apparently, they don't usually work together, but now they've united for this evil plot to somehow control a Mind Flayer Elder Brain. They plan to infect everyone with its tadpoles and dominate the entire world. Right now, they're infecting a VIP, Duke Ravengard of Baldur's Gate, and incidentally, Will's father. But you can't save him at the moment. These two take him back to the city. Now that you found the Absolute, this might be Gale's time to shine. Earlier, he got a visit from Elminster, legendary wizard of D&D lore. Well, Gale, I've got good news and bad news. Good news, Mystra found a way to stop your bomb from exploding for now. Bad news is she wants you to explode it on the Absolute and kill yourself. So yeah, Gale could just end it now, but that seems a little anticlimactic. So it's time for the rematch with Ketheric Thorm, but he has another trick up his sleeve. This isn't even my final form. He eats himself into the pit of death and comes back as the avatar of Merkel, all crazy bone monster. But by now, hopefully, you've gotten pretty strong and you smite this fool. Yeah, Ketheric Thorm defeated. Now you just have to collect all 3 Netherstones, defeat the Elder Brain, and finally rid yourself of this dang tadpole, and incidentally save the world. The land heals with the Shadow Curse lifted, assuming you didn't forget Halsin's side quest. Shadowheart gets some of her memories restored. Turns out her family were Selûne worshippers, and the Sharans kidnapped and brainwashed her. Shadowheart's realized her whole life is a lie, and she has a bit of an existential crisis. And so it's onwards to Baldur's Gate. But that night, there's another big twist. Your Dream Guardian opens a portal. Hey, come help me. Inside, there's an imprisoned Githyanki, and they're under attack from a Mind Flayer. But turns out the Mind Flayer is your Dream Guardian. Ah, bro, you just got catfished. The Githyanki are attacking you too, so for now you have to keep working together. He calls himself the Emperor, and we finally get his full backstory. He never technically lied to you. He was an adventurer from Baldur's Gate who did get captured, turned into a Mind Flayer. Mind Flayers are thralls to an Elder Brain, but somehow he managed to break free. He went back to Baldur's Gate, where he lived a normalish life and actually founded a cool spy agency, which is where he got his title, the Emperor. But one of the bad guys, Lord Gortash, captured him and re-enthralled him to the Absolute. But he broke free again when he found this prism because the Githyanki inside has a natural psychic shield. This is Prince Orpheus, the true heir to the Githyanki throne. That's why Vlaakith needed this prism back, because if other Githyanki find out he's still alive, it'll be a big Githyanki civil war. The Emperor just wants the Absolute defeated so he can go back to a normal free life. So it seems for now you're still on the same side. It's kinda up to you how much you trust this guy now that he's creepy instead of hot. He does want you to keep embracing your tadpole powers. In fact, he's got a special tadpole for you, which can evolve you into a partial Mind Flayer. You can try to say, no thanks, I'm good, but if you've been slurping down all those other tadpoles, turns out this one's really hard to reject. So your psychic powers are stronger than ever, but it's very bad for your complexion. Maybe we just keep that helmet on. And so it's onwards to Baldur's Gate. Getting into the city might be a problem because of its new giant robot police force, the Steel Watch, under control of Lord Gortash. But Gortash lets you in. He now thinks he's untouchable. With Will's father, Duke Ravengard, under his control, he's just been named Grand Duke of Baldur's Gate. And he's a savvy political operator. He's actually interested in working together. With Ketheric dead, their triple alliance is broken. He wants you to kill their third. The third, Orin, is a shapeshifter. Yeah, she ambushes you a couple times and is in general a super freak. She also wants you to kill Gortash for her, and she's kidnapped one of your companions, so if you want to save him, you'd better do it. But poor Halsin will have to wait because we just got to the big city and there's about 100 side quests to do. You can recruit another character from the old Baldur's Gates. Yes, it's Minsk, the berserker with the heart of gold and his hamster companion, Boo. Now that you're back in civilization, sleeping rough ain't cutting it. You can rent a suite at the local tavern. And now with access to a bed, you and your chosen love interest can finally get it on. In fact, there's lots of opportunity for love. Like one day the Emperor shows up shirtless. Oh hey, didn't see you there. So if that's something you're into, the option's on the table. And if Daddy Halsin isn't kidnapped and you play your cards right, this is where famously you can A bear. Gale is interested in the crown that they're using to control the Elder Brain. Turns out it's the Nethery's crown, and that's his orb was Nethery's magic. You help him steal a book so he can learn how to reforge it, and he thinks he can use it to become a god. But if you give him some better advice, instead he apologizes to his ex-goddess girlfriend Mistra and decides to give the crown to her. Astarion confronts his old vampire master, Cazador. You can't control me anymore. Unfortunately, turns out he can. In fact, he's about to sacrifice Astarion and all his spawn in an infernal ritual to become the vampire ascendant. You help Astarion beat this guy, but now he wants to do the ritual himself. But you can talk him down, you're better than that. And so Astarion kills his old master in an epic, cathartic, emotional scene. Actually, his whole story is heart-wrenching. Shadowheart goes back to the Temple of Shar, where incidentally her head priestess is another returning character. Redeemed Shadowheart smites this chick, but when she goes to rescue her parents, she gets some bad news from Shar herself. As her final curse, she's tied them together, so while her parents live, Shadowheart will be in constant pain. It's a tragic dilemma with no clear right answer, but her parents are like, hey, you gotta let us go. So Shadowheart, whose name by the way is Jen, is finally free from the evil of Shar, but lost her parents after just re-getting them. Will also has a dad dilemma. His patron Mizora offers him a new contract. She can help him save his father if he sells his soul even more, or she'll let him out of his contract, but it would condemn his father to death. Another tough choice with no easy answer, but ultimately his father would want him to be free. And, of course, you can save his dad without Mizora's help, and she's not even that mad, she loves a good loophole. And now that Will is free from his pact, he decides to be the Blade of Avernus, taking the fight down to the devils. But Will's not the only one dealing with devils. Way back at the very beginning of the game, we met Raphael. He offered us a deal to cure our tadpoles, though even if you want to take it, he won't let you yet. Now the time has finally come, but turns out he can't just cure our tadpole. Instead, he offers us a hammer that can free the Githyanki prince Orpheus, which is arguably completely useless unless you really don't trust the Emperor. In return, he wants that Nethery's crown, which he would certainly use to nefarious ends. Lae'zel obviously has very strong feelings. We must free the Prince of the Comet. So to keep Lae'zel happy, you get her that hammer. Luckily, your contract can be broken if you find a portal into hell. You can break into Raphael's house and rip that contract in half. This makes Raphael very mad, and it's one of the coolest boss fights in the game with absolutely epic music. But at this point, hopefully, you're pretty darn strong, and you show that devil who's boss. Now it's time to deal with Gortash, but he's well defended by his steel watch. He's holding these engineers' families hostage, so you gotta steal a submarine and go down for an epic underwater prison break. Now the workers can rise up and fight, but they're not especially good at fighting. Most of your job is keeping them from dying. Then you blow up his robot factory, which hilariously is the capstone quest to that gnome you saved from the windmill at the beginning. Now you can finally kill Gortash, who is part of Karlach's story. He was her former boss who sold her to the hells. You help Karlach smash this guy, and now she gets her own emotional scene. Earlier she got bad news about her heart. It can't survive outside the hells, and she would rather die than go back. Yeah, all your companion stories are just so tragic. Now there's just one Netherstone left. It's time to confront Orin and finally rescue poor Halsin. But Orin is the chosen of Baal, god of murder, your main antagonist from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Incidentally, Orin's dad was BG1's villain, Saravok. So Orin pulls her biggest shapeshift yet into the Slayer, avatar of Baal. Ouch. But in the end, you defeat her, and now you have all 3 Netherstones. It's time to confront the Elder Brain. But since you saw it, it's gotten bigger, and using the stones doesn't quite work. All of this was part of its master plan. It's used the crown to evolve itself. The stones can't control it anymore. So the Emperor calls a timeout while the Nether Brain rises above the city for a full-on Mind Flayer invasion. The Emperor's like, yeah, the brain's too strong. Only another Mind Flayer would be able to control it. You should give the stones to me. And so you're faced with the final question. How much do you trust this guy? Is he your best friend, Tentacle Bro? Or is he the monster invading your dreams who's manipulated you this entire time? If you trust him, he'd have to eat Orpheus's brain to get his psychic blocking power and leave the prism. And obviously Lae'zel has strong feelings on that. So to keep Lae'zel happy, we're gonna free Orpheus. The Emperor is pretty disappointed. If you're not with me, you're against me. He decides to join the Nether Brain and take his chances on escaping in the long run. But Lae'zel is super stoked. Yeah, that's right, it's hammer time. Prince Orpheus isn't exactly grateful. I guess to be fair, you killed all his friends. And he's got bad news, the Emperor was right. It will take a Mind Flayer to use the stones. A true selfless hero might make the ultimate sacrifice and become a Mind Flayer to save the world. Or you can make Orpheus do it. Thanks, bro, for taking one for the team. And so it's time for the final battle. You could, of course, skip this fight and let Gale finally blow himself up, but that seems anticlimactic. At the top of the brain, the Emperor's here to stop you with the dominated dragon. Everyone you've helped along the way is available now to help with the fight. They're excited to save the world, though mostly they're probably dragon fodder. So you fight your way to the crown, get your mind flayer to use the stones. Then to dominate this thing for good, you gotta smack it in the face. And so the brain is under your control. An evil person might take this opportunity to become the absolute themselves, but a good person will destroy this thing and the day is saved. All your tadpoles are finally gone, and your beautiful face is back to normal. If you made Orpheus become a mind flayer, he's in no state to lead his people, so it's up to Lae'zel to unite her people and depose the tyrant Queen Blacketh. Astarion, without the tadpole's protection, is now affected by the sun again. He'll meet up with us for the after party. But Karlach, don't forget, is dying. This is it. She's burning up. But Will is like, hey girl, I'm going down to Avernus anyway. I know you said you'd never go back, but maybe it won't be so bad if you got a friend. And in fact, it is pretty freaking rad as these two run off to fight devils together. And you get to live happily ever after, whatever that looks like for you. But probably you saved the world, and that's where Baldur's Gate 3 comes to an end. If you liked this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies.